Hey everybody, welcome back to Underground Upholstery. I know it's been a while since I've put any videos out, so I appreciate you hanging in there. So this is a project that I'm really looking forward to getting started on. I picked these beauties up off the side of the road, and I think my goal for this is to clean them, paint them, and even add a couple cushions just to bring them back to life a little bit. So diving right into the project, I got a couple hard bristle brushes, some simple green, and a little sprayer. I got the pressure washer hooked up just to really blast all the grit and the grime off of these chairs. So let's get to spraying and see what we can do with these things. The biggest tip here is just to make sure that you apply a nice heavy coat of the cleaner or degreaser that you're going to be using. Allow it to soak in and really agitate all the dirt that's on these chairs. And now for the moment of truth. Looks like the dirt's coming off pretty easily once that simple green is applied and it sets in for a few minutes. I haven't even brushed anything yet and it's coming right off. These chairs are going to be looking pretty nice by the time I'm done with them, I have a feeling. Now that I have a pretty good understanding of what I'm working with here, I'm going to go ahead and really scrub the chairs down with a strong bristle brush. You can use anything you have laying around the house. Just make sure you get in all the nooks and crannies really good. The dirt really finds its way to seep in and you don't want to be painting over that down the road. Taking a few extra minutes in the beginning to really clean the chairs and make sure you have a nice surface for the paint to adhere to really is going to pay off in the long run. I highly recommend just slowing down, taking your time, putting on some good music and relaxing for this. Once you're satisfied with how clean the chairs are, go ahead and give them a good rinse to make sure you have all the soap off and anything that could adversely affect the paint down the road. I must say, the before and after is pretty remarkable on these chairs. If I wanted to, I could get the magic marker marks off and just stop here, but I'm gonna keep going. Alright, so since the last part, I went ahead and allowed the chairs to dry. Off camera, I also wiped them down with rubbing alcohol, just to make sure that there was no oils or contaminants on the surface of the chair before I went ahead and started applying the paint. So all I'm doing here is just trying to apply a nice even coat. Not going crazy, I want to make sure that the chair and the spray paint form a chemical bond. So one thing I want to make note of is that I am applying this paint on a relatively warm day in direct sunlight. The first coat, it's important that it dries thoroughly before applying the other coats. Once the first coat is down though, it's not as important to make sure it dries all the way and you can kind of lay it on pretty heavy, so something to keep in mind. A new trend that seems to be gaining popularity is the antiquing and artificial aging of outdoor furniture and whatnot. If I wanted to, I could stop here. I think this is a pretty cool look. Unfortunately, I want these to look completely brand new when I'm done with them, so I'm going to keep going, but it's just some food for thought. Really, one of the only problems that I had throughout this project was realizing that the chair really used more paint than what I was originally planning. I think I went through roughly 3 cans per chair. It just seemed that every time I turned it around or looked at the chair from a different angle, I noticed a spot that needed to be touched up. And this is something that you can get away with. You don't have to do under the arms or under the bottom of the chair where you're not really going to see. But I went above and beyond, I guess. You don't have to. It's just something that I wanted to point out. Always be prepared to get more paint than you really need. So my number one tip for painting these chairs is to make sure that you get the hard to reach areas first. The back, all the cracks, and in between each seat rung. You're going to want to hit those good and get those completed first, and then go on to the rest of the chair to make sure that the paint job blends in seamlessly. Well, here it is, the final result from step number 2. Overall, I'm super impressed with how these chairs turned out. I think the results speak for themselves. I mean, I can't find any imperfections, and I think they're going to look great. Time to get some cushions on these and actually enjoy them a little bit before the summer's over. So there's really no right or wrong way to make a template, just eye it up and do what you think looks best. As we'll find out later, I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing and I should have done it a little bit different. But anyway, this is what I'm working with, so let's get rolling. This is going to be perfect. I don't want the foam to be too large that it takes away from the chair. I just want a small cushion that I'm going to throw out every once in a while when I'm sitting on it for an extended period of time. Let's get to cutting the foam out. If you're going to be using an electric foam cutter, always make sure you apply a spray silicone to the blades. What this does is allow the blades to create less friction and slide through the foam much easier. Okay, so here's the point of the job where I realized I should have gone out and actually purchased a thinner, denser foam. This is going to work just fine, but I think the final cushion is going to be a little bit thicker than my liking. It's going to be really comfortable, but keeping with the theme of reusing my waste from previous projects, I'm going to try to stick with that and just make this work. Man, I must say, it has been a while since I've been downstairs doing some upholstery. At least 6 months since I've touched the sewing machines and any kind of fabric, so this is going to be kind of a getting my feet wet again type of thing, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just working slow, being careful, measuring twice and trying to cut once. One thing that I like to take advantage of when I'm doing these smaller jobs is the time to experiment with new techniques and procedures that I've just kind of thought of as I go. This allows me to kind of hone my craft and find out what works for me and what doesn't work for me. As I'm spinning my bobbin here, I always take an opportunity just to oil my sewing machine. I'm not going to be doing a ton of sewing on this job, so just a light oiling is all I need to do, but it's really important that you do take the time to do this step. One of the most important things that you can do before you start sewing your final cut is always run a test strip of the same material that you're going to be sewing through the machine. This allows you to make sure that the machine's tuned correctly, adjust your stitch length as necessary, and just have an overview of what you're going to be working with and how the material reacts to being sewn. Yeah, so it's been a minute since I've done any sewing and I'm feeling a little bit rusty. I haven't sewn a box cushion in a while either, so I'm just taking my time, going nice and slow, and making sure that everything lines up really nice. While I'm sewing these cushions, I'm giving extra attention to making sure that I make nice square corners and also marking out my corner on the other side of the fabric. That way when I go to sew the top on, everything lines up nice and true. Slowly but surely, I'm starting to figure this out again. It's all starting to come back and it's coming together really nice. I think these cushions are going to be a nice addition to these really nice chairs. Well, we're getting there. Thanks for staying with me so far. All we have left to do now is get the foam inside the cushion and go try it out. One problem that I think I'm going to run into is because I did all my measurements pretty much just by eyeballing it, I don't think I made the zipper opening large enough to actually fit the foam inside the cushion. So I think we're going to have to get a little creative. Let's see what we can come up with. And here comes pro tip number 2. This is something that you are definitely going to want to see because this could really save you when you're doing any kind of job with foam. So what you're about to see here is probably the most important tip or trick in this entire video. It's the garbage bag and vacuum trick. What I'm going to do here is insert the foam into this garbage bag, which just happens to fit perfectly, but you can use anything. You could use a 55-gallon bag if you have one, it doesn't matter. But for this project, I'm just choosing to use this. We're going to kind of pinch off the end of the bag and insert the vacuum. This is going to allow the vacuum to suck all the air out of the bag and compress the foam into something that's going to fit through the zipper. To make this work, all you have to do is cut a little hole in the bag to allow the neck of the vacuum hose to go in and go up against the foam. The only thing left to do now is turn on the vacuum, close the open end of the bag a little bit, and let the magic happen. I will say that this is a great technique to use even if you have plenty of zipper opening. It really helps the foam slide all the way in and fill out the entire cushion really nice. As you can see, just by using this simple trick, we've reduced the size of the foam about 50%. This is going to allow the foam to slide all the way into the cushion and really fill out the corners nice without having to work the material too hard. Now once I have the foam fully inserted into the cushion, I remove the vacuum and give the foam a few seconds to expand. This is going to prevent the foam from pulling out when I try to pull the bag out. And even if you do allow the foam to fully expand inside the cushion before removing the bag, that is never a problem. There's still enough, slipperiness between the foam, the material, and the bag that the bag really just pulls right out quite easily. Now all we have left to do is close up the zipper and admire our work. I also make sure I always give the cushion a few whacks, just to work it into the corners and let the chair know that I won. Well, here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. I must say, I'm thrilled with the end product. The cushions came out nice, the chairs came out looking brand spanking new. I couldn't be more excited to put these to use. Well everyone, thanks again for stopping by and joining me for another fun project. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I really appreciate all the comments and feedback that I've been getting with my other videos. I look forward to doing a lot more of these and sewing machine videos in the near future. So in the meantime, take care.